I didn't intend to because I never really took it that seriously. But I was still thinking in terms of writing for the theater. But I'm playing small parts live television, and everybody was talking about the actor studio, and I poo-pooed it because I thought it was a little much. Everybody self-indulged. And then a friend of mine said, "Well, you're just poo-pooing it because you're afraid." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because it's difficult to get in." Now, we're not talking about the thing you see on television today. That's not the actor studio. That's, I think, a title that shouldn't be used. But they refer to it in the title, it's actor studio. But the actor studio was one studio, and it was in an old abandoned church on the west side of Manhattan. And after the war, around 1947, Kazan, Harold Clurman, um, Lee Strasberg, and Cheryl Crawford, and Harold, that was about it. They decided they would try to create a theater that was a little like the old group theater back in the 30s of dedicated young actors doing serious work. And so they made it very tough to get in. And first of all, they had a space problem. And it was awfully hard. The year that finally a buddy of mine, Lonnie Chapman, profound impact in my early days, a young director, and he said, "You're just afraid, Cliff." I said, "Put your money where your mouth is." He bet me $50, which was a lot of money. And I said, "Okay." And you had to, that year, they auditioned 3,000 people and they picked three. So you would audition, you'd come back for a second time, and then a third time. At the end of the year, they picked just a very few. And that year they picked three, and I was one, to my surprise. And Lonnie's surprise, and I was $50 richer. And then I began to learn how little I knew, because I was riding off of a certain instinct, maybe some raw talent that I may have had, and a certain amount of life experience that I had had at a remarkably young age. The thing I see today at young actors, there's very little life experience. Well, I mean, they've sat around a cappuccino bar in Hollywood, and they got a lot of hours logged there, and maybe done some stock, but an awful lot of them haven't had life experience. I had shipped out on a ship when I was 15 years old. I was in my Joseph Conrad period, and I'd gone down to the airport. I'd flying airplanes. I was an adventuresome kid. I was influenced by a writer named Richard Halliburton. You're too young to know, Steve, but he was a very, very good writer who wrote about his adventures. Ultimately was lost in this typhoon off of China in a Chinese junk. But anyway, I love those kind of adventures. Anything that got me out of that white protective wasp wall in La Jolla, California that I was encircled by.